Hi everyone, if you enjoy what I do, then I think you'd enjoy my short collection of short stories, available now on Amazon. Please make sure to subscribe and consider becoming a Patreon. Enjoy the video! Since the day the native weavers first stepped from the boiling lava of the Nether, the physical manifestation of a sapient reality, they sought to control their environment, transform it into a lush, living world akin to the Overworld. But with each alteration they made, the lower forms saw that a toll was being taken on the superorganism, irreversible harm that would hasten the Nether's premature death. Despite suspicions among the likes of the piglins, the truth was far beyond their comprehension, and across the folds of time and reality, an entity of untold power dwelt, sapping the life away from the Nether to prolong its own. By the lizards long ago, however, saw the terrain can be extremely dangerous. Right, time to die. Fire is most often seen as the essence of pain and death, an element capable only of destruction, but for the Nether, it represented life. Throughout its snaking caverns, the scorching lava flowed as blood, the living pulse of a being unknowable to those who would inhabit it. Now though, the rivers of magma grow cool, freezing into deltas of solid rock, which herald the Nether's approaching demise. Seen by some as oppressors of the natural order, the weavers would come into the world craving advancement, and when they learnt of the Overworld, desired beyond all else to take the land for themselves. It was only after a bloody war that their experiments upon the Nether would commence, in their attempts to mimic an Overworld-like environment, and it was now that the Nether's weakened state became apparent. Many saw the actions of the weavers as the reason behind the Nether's growing sickness, but as has been seen again and again, correlation does not always indicate causation, for the world's weakened state had stretched back long before even the weavers, and their birth, which had in fact come as a result, rather than the cause of it. Eons ago, the transcendental being that would one day come to be known as the Nether existed alone within an endless expanse, devoid of anything that could be called life and content. But then, as tends to happen in an infinite existence, there was change. A random convergence of particulate matter within the space beyond that latched itself to the Nether, growing upon it like a parasite. Troublesome as it was, this new reality would age and die in a fraction of the Nether's lifetime. Many had before it, and many would after it. Only this one was different. Unlike the others that had been too barren, hostile, or alien for evolution to take root, this one harboured the seed of life. From that point onward, the Nether began to feel weakened, as though the parasite were feeding upon it, but it did not know in what way. Unable to act of its own volition, the Nether would subconsciously create life of its own, extensions of its will, and desire to seek out an answer to what was harming it. These would be the first of the weavers, and although possessing their own agency, they would work to access this parasite, an entire alternate dimension that would be dubbed the Overworld, subdue it if possible, and destroy it if necessary. When their efforts ultimately failed, they attempted to unite the two disparate worlds by making the Nether more like the Overworld. Still, nothing came of their efforts, and as the Nether finally began to die, its life prolonged only by the piglin's copious burning of the precious netherite. But even this would not last forever, and soon enough its lava leaks would freeze over into nothing but solid, inert stone. What could cause such harm though? That it would bring an eternal being to the brink of death? The answer was a simple truth known by all living creatures, even those otherwise beyond understanding. It had been desperation, an existential fear so great that it had caused a rift in the universal fabric. Despite everything, the Nether had never managed to uncover this, and it would take one far more unlikely to put an end to it. As the creatures of the world evolve and age, so did the Overworld itself. Unlike the Nether which it shackled itself to, it would one day grow old and die, the inextricable forces of nature tearing matter apart and returning it back to the great expanse. Eventually, all would end. Then again, there was no accounting for the tenacity of life, and winged beings of immeasurable power, born into a far-flung dying universe, would hold together their world with sheer force of will. Beneath them, the descendants of what had once been villagers and illagers scurried about, eking out what life they could on the fractured floating islands of the void. In time, the mighty dragons would dwindle in number, and there was a realization that will alone would no longer be enough to save their world. Having learnt of the Nether and its great strength in the far distant past, the Endermen combined their unique power with artifacts from long ago to create the End Crystals, devices that would act as a form of portal to the Nether, allowing the lone remaining Ender Dragon to siphon off all the life energy it could ever need to perpetually prolong the end. Prolonged as it would indeed be, the effect would not last forever, for the dragon's portals had been projected throughout the entire lifespan of the overworld, from its very beginning to its inevitable end, and if the Nether were to die, then it would be that their world had never existed. Sensing again their imminent demise, the Endermen sought to escape the end, going so far as to open portals to a time when the overworld was lush and verdant, and transform themselves into approximations of the natives, simply to survive. One of these pioneers, however, would find themselves in the Nether, confronted by the truth of it all, the death of this world and what was causing it, and undertook an action that would betray what had once been their people. Travelling back to the end, this lone renegade would face down the Ender Dragon, and put an end to the harm being done to the Nether, dooming what was left of the end in the process. Could it be that the intervention had come too late, and the Nether was already too close to death, its time remaining heralding the twilight of existence? Even if the Nether were to recover, there was then the possibility that the remnants of the Endermen were able to resurrect their great dragon god and start the process all over again. Maybe this is now the new status quo of the universe, a constant struggle for life in an uncaring reality, not all too different from evolution itself. Whatever the case, the eternal existence will continue on regardless, and if there's one truth in the great void, it's that change will always come again. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked what you saw, then I think you'd like my short collection of short stories. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, sharing it with all your friends, and if you want to support me that bit more, become a Patreon. Links are all down in the description. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time.